Welcome to Papa Junk Shop. Now we're going to get started on machining this water hopper for the 5S. So this is my precarious setup for holding it. And we're just going to take light cuts. It seems to be really good and sturdy, even though it looks kind of iffy. Had trouble finding right size bolts that were long enough to hold it down, so I'm going to get started on her. Okay, the far side has the most shrinkage here on the casting, so we'll just go down to where that cleans that up, work our way over to these clamps, then I'll come over here on the other side. I'll set the, when I get down to where I want to be, I'll set the depth stop, and then we'll move over on this side, do the same thing, and then I'll turn it, and then we'll get this little piece here out. Then I can flip it over, and I'll probably use a fly cutter to do the bottom side. And once we get that cleaned up and nice, then we can go ahead and figure out the pattern for the head and the spark plug hole. Okay, so you get the idea of what's going to happen, so it's going to take me a while, so I'm going to get going on her. Okay, I got the top side done, got her turned upside down, and I just found a spot where I could touch off with a fly cutter, and I took about 0.010 off, and it's actually not too far out of square, so I don't think it's going to take too much. Let's see, here we go. There's another 0.010. Okay, not bad. I'm just going to keep doing that just a little at a time till I get her all cleaned up. Okay, I only wound up taking off about, let's see, 10, 20, maybe 30 thousandths is all I had to take off. It cleaned up that good. The old Bridgeport's a pretty good old machine for as old as it is. You can see where the fly cutter went, but You can't feel it. Really does a nice job. I'm surprised because moving the workpiece 90 degrees, you would think you'd get some differences, but worked out really good. So I'm happy. Now I got to try to figure out how to lay this out so we can get all the holes for the head bolts, and of course a spark plug, and then we got to have the recesses for the valves and the piston. In other words, we're going to copy the original head, or attempt to. So try to get that figured out next. Okay, I fibbed to you a little bit. Not going to work on that casting. I'm going to make another casting because I was up in my other building looking for something else, and I run into two what are going to become flywheels. I think they're pulleys off of Myers water pumps, and I got a pair of them, so I won't have to try to cast that other one. And these are a little bit bigger around, which I like the facts. I wish the rim was a little thicker. I was debating on whether to try to come up with a solution for that, but instead of making that casting for two flywheels copying the other, and I'm going to use these. So that'll eliminate a couple of castings. So I only need to make one more casting, and that's going to be this base. So I still haven't cleaned the beach up, so I thought if I do this one last casting, I can put this stuff away and have a clearer work area for the rest of the project. So I'm going to go to work on that. Getting the mold ready. I got to get the pattern out of there without trashing it. And I've got the core over here setting, waiting. Hopefully I'm successful. Okay, got her out of there okay. I know you can't see it very well because of the shadows. I got just a little bit of tear out right along there, but that won't hurt anything. If there's extra metal, it'll go that way, and that'll just be like flashing. We'll just clean her off of there with a file or grinder or something. Shouldn't be a problem. Now I got to get the core in there without ruining it. Okay, there she is. I think we're ready to fire up the furnace. Hopefully we get her the first time. Remember the old Coleman that we saved the generator off of? There's the last of her. She's going in the pot. Okay, it's time. Yeah, still got some left. I didn't get enough things out to pour it in. I don't know if I can get another one out in time or not. Yep, I did. Alright, a few hours will know. I always get impatient and want to see my results. I'm going to see if I can pull this core out of there. Uh-oh, whole thing come out. Yeah. I think maybe we got a good one. No, that'll help it cool off quicker. I'm not going to mess with it anymore. It's really hot yet. Well, if I thought I wanted to ever make another one of them, which I'm not sure, now would be the time. All I have to do is make a new pour and set it in there. I think that could be used over again. Just a few little grains of sand would have to be vacuumed out of there. I'll have to think about that. Okay, here's what we got. A little bit of cleanup, a little belt sander work. Get her cleaned up a little bit, and a little bit of roughness there, but that'll clean up nice. And then we'll stick her on the mill, get this flat, and then turn it over and do the same with this side so they're parallel. And we're good to go. Oh, a couple holes for mounting. Should be good. Okay, I already did the bottom. I'm starting on the top now. I'm just taking a skim cut. Okay, I'll take a couple more light cuts. All I got to do is get this cleaned up, because most of this is going to be covered up, so it won't matter anyway. So I'll just make a couple more light passes. Okay, while I got this in here, I got one more operation I'm going to do. I'm going to make a little flat spot right here where the bolt's going to go down through. I've already got the other three done, so it's going to be going about a ½ inch to the outside of that cutter. That's a 3/4 inch. I'm going to bring it down just until it makes a clear spot. Like that. Now, I'll take this cutter out. Oops. I got a center drill. I'm going to spot that. I won't go all the way through because I don't want to be going into my table because it's not clear underneath it. I can drill it out later. I'll have it all spotted. Now the only other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this cutter back in that chuck, and I'm going to run around there and clean up that ragged edge. And then other than a little bit of sandpaper work on there, should be done with that. Okay, there she is. Take a file and clean that up just a little bit there. And we'll take some sandpaper and just dust that roughness from the sand off. And break these corners a little bit, and she'll be done. Other than once we get the engine on there, we'll have to mark where the bolts are going to go down through. Well, it's time to get started on, I guess you call it head/water hopper. What I got to do is recreate this here with the holes, and the spark plug won't be there anymore. It'll come in here. Well, actually, if it was on the engine, it would be here, in between these two head bolts. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark about midway between those two, right here. I'll put a mark, and I'm going to set this on there, and I've got that hump in there where the spark plug's going to go, so I'm just going to kind of eyeball it down through there, and it looks like about no, that's not really where it fits the best. But we can deal with that later. Looks like it's about right there. So I'll mark that here too. So now what I want to do is I've got two of these little marking. What they are is just a threaded portion, and they have a little, like a center punch built in the end of them. And well, they come in a little thing like this. There's 6 of them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start them in these 2 holes on the opposite ends in the middle. And what I'm going to do is you run them down so they're just sticking up. There, now just the little pointy part sticking up. The same with this one. One more. Okay. And then I'm going to set this back on there very carefully with that mark lined up. No, it's not exactly right. Rail. Well, that's It's not exactly, but it does seem to fit better there, so we're going to go with that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a hammer and just reach down in here and give this a good smack or two. That should have marked where we need those holes. And it did. One right there. And one right there. So now, what I'll do is I'll drill these out. And then this head seems to be, the head gasket is the same no matter which way you turn it. So if I drill these two out and then drop some bolts in there to hold it in place, I can just use that to hold it in place, and I'll use these holes to drill the rest of these. Actually, it's going to go that way. So the spark plug's going to be coming in here. So I'm going to go ahead and get those two holes drilled. They all seem to work out okay. I got them all in there. 5/16 holes. I can screw them all in with my fingers. Probably before I'm completely done, I will drill them out maybe one size larger than 5/16, just so it has some expansion and contraction ability. So get that back off and get it marked out so we can figure out how we're going to do this part. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is just put the gasket on there. And take a marker and just draw right around there, like so. Okay, so that's, we don't want to go outside that line. So there's just a real little amount here, and it kind of tapers down into clearance for the valves. So I'm going to try to see what I can come up with for cutters the right size, and we'll get it set up in the mill and see if we can get that accomplished. Well, I determined for here we need 1 1/8 for each one of these, and this is 2 inch. So I have 1 1/4 cutters, and I have inch cutters, and I have 1 1 1/8, but the shank is 1 1/8, and my mill will only take 1 inch is the biggest. And of course I don't have a 2 inch one either. So what I'm going to use is Forstner bits. I've done it before in aluminum, and it's all you got to do is be gentle. It'll work fine. So we'll use that there, and we'll use this one back here. We don't have to take much off. I lugged the head off someplace. We'll have to measure the depth, but this back here especially is not much. And this might be 3/16 of an inch or something. I don't know, I have to measure it and see. Okay, got it set up in the mill. Using a collet to hold the Forstner bit. Tables are locked. I measured the depth It's 172 thousandths. So I'm gonna go down until I see this, because there's a point on there. Once I get the point down and this starts marking the surface, I'll set my digital readout to 0, and then we'll go down 172 thousandths. So give her a try. Forgot to fire up the 3-phase converter. Alright, and I've got it on the lowest speed with the back gears out. I think it's 660. No, I didn't either. Put the belt the wrong way. Duh. Hang on, I got to change. Okay, got the belt the right way now. I don't think that Forstner bit would have been happy running at 2720. Okay, here we go. Centerpiece doesn't like aluminum very well, does it? Maybe I'll wind up doing a little pilot hole. I don't remember having trouble doing it this way before. But it's not happy about it, so let me rethink. Okay, here's what I'm going to try. The point of this thing is about 3/16 of an inch, so I put a 3/16 end mill in, brought it down just touches, set my DRO for 0, and we'll go ahead and go down our 172 thousandths. I realize that won't be enough because it's going to go down a little farther, but I don't want to cut out any more than I have to. So we'll change it back out to the other cutter and see if it'll work. Yay, we're going to give her another try. Okay, just touched off, set my DRO for 0. There's 172 right there. Alright, just going to do the other one the same way. For 2. I got the big one cut out. I didn't actually measure it, I just kind of eyeballed that one. It doesn't amount to hardly anything on here, so I'm just using my finger measurement. So now I got to get this area here out, and it looks like the way this is made is it's pretty flat, this area up to there. And then about halfway up here to there, there's a taper this way. So probably going to have to figure out some way to mount this on a little bit of a taper, and then just work my way back and forth, and then I'll have a little bit of cleanup to do by hand probably. So going to work on figuring out how to do that. I decided to do was I'm moving this way 50 thousandths and I'm going down 5 thousandths. And that I'm creating a ramp like that, and then I'm going to take the Dremel and smooth up these little ridges. I think I'm going to come out about right down here. So move ahead 50 thousandths. Go down 5 thousandths. Just come over here like so. And over here. And I go back to the middle. And go in 50,000. And we'll do her again. Well, they come out pretty close. I can get the rest of that with a Dremel. Just taper that off right there. A little cleanup work, and I think we got that part figured out. Now the scary part's going to be getting that spark plug weaseled in there somehow. Put the gasket on, put a couple of bolts on, and I put just stuck the valves in because I want to see. Yep, looks like we got plenty of movement. So we got clearance. Yep. Hopefully you guys can see that. So I just got to get that cleaned up in there so it looks a little neater and get rid of all them ridges. Those ridges probably wouldn't work well for the combustion. It probably wants to be smooth, so that'll be the next thing. Well, there's what I wound up with. You can still see some marks and stuff in it, but I think it'll be fine. It about an hour's worth of grinding, filing, sanding, scraping, all that good stuff. Next, I think we're going to go for the spark plug hole. Now this spark plug hole thing, I was trying to figure out how to make it some kind of a jig to guide it and everything else, and I thought, you're thinking about this too much, so I just went and got a long drill bit, the old DeWalt, And right here, and that's where that divot was from where I bored this out. I just picked an angle I thought was about right. I wanted it to come out in between this line, and I just went right out through there, and it come right out right where I wanted it. And this is the plug I plan on using. It takes a 3/4 inch socket, so I'm going to need to have a recess. It's going to be about that big. It's going to go back in a ways. That's why I needed that extra metal in there. And I know on the ones that have a spark plug that come in this way, they don't, the electrode doesn't protrude into here. There is a little hole where it goes back in a ways, so that's what I plan on doing. This is just a pilot hole to get me a guide. Now I got to figure out how much bigger I want it for this area, and then I got to figure out the tap drill size for this, and then I got to figure out how I'm going to bore for the outside of this. I'll probably use this as a guide to get this set up in the mill to do the bore for this. So I'll keep you informed as I gain on it. This is what I wound up for a fixture, I guess you'd call it. I don't have an adjustable angle plate, but I do have adjustable drill press vise, and I thought if I'm gentle I might be able to use it. So I determined that it would go to the right angle, and I clamped a piece of 2.5 inch probably angle iron in there, and it's cranked right down. Everything here is really cranked down nice and tight. And then I got a couple of giant C-clamps clamping this onto the angle iron, and I did all of that with it hanging on there as a guide. So now I've got it all lined up for my other operations, and boy, it seems pretty good and sturdy. So if I'm gentle, I think it's going to work. I think that probably I'll go with, I determined I got to have an inch clearance around this, so I think I'll start with that, and then I'll determine my size for the tap. So I'll get set up to bore out that inch section. Okay, got her set up. We're going to give her a whirl. So good. I'm not sure how far I gotta go, so I better determine that before I go too far. But looks like she's gonna work okay. Drilling the tap size. Better check my depth. Okay, I got the spring-loaded center in there. 14mm tap for the spark plug. Give her a little squirt of juice here. Tapping nice. Okay, I'm not going to make you suffer through watching me do all of that. I'm going to pull it out of there and blow it out, clean it out, and then finish it up. Yeah, I run into a little problem. Went to try the spark plug in there and it's not 14mm. So I guess I won't use that plug. But I got a 14mm here and we're still going to be okay. Boy, it's awful close to 14. It just barely slides in there. And there's just enough of it sticking out yet, so I can get it tightened down. So, turned out okay after all. That's good because it'll take a more common plug, at least as far as I'm concerned. So, we didn't fold up the tip or anything, so we got clearance. Something that I've been thinking about a little bit is I got all this extra area plowed out of there. Hopefully we're not going to lower our compression enough to affect the running of it. It shouldn't be too long and we'll find out. So I think I can safely take this out of here. I don't think there's any other operations I need to do on this while it's in there. And my jury rig setup worked okay. So this is probably enough for the video. So I think we'll end it here for now. And probably going to have to start getting the engine assembled and get this on there and see if we got compression and stuff. So if you enjoyed it so far, give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe and see you next time.